We live in the country where it's considered the ninth most dangerous place for women to exist on earth, our own very Nigeria.
It was not prevalent before and now it's now prevalent. Now I think that people are just beginning to speak up.
At least 30% of women have experienced intimate partner violence in sub-Saharan Africa. In Nigeria, at least 28% of Nigerian women aged 25 to 29 have experienced a form of physical violence.
My first pregnancy, when I was with him, I noticed the violence aspect of him, which for the first time he slapped me, and I wanted to go, but I don't have option, because if I should go, where will I go? There's no shelter for me, there's no accommodation for me. I might end up in the streets.
We have had increased numbers of people on suicide watch because they don't know what else to do, where else to go. They're being forced to seek succor with family who have been socialized into blaming women for daring to seek justice.
For me, I think it's the lack of knowledge a lot of people have about this gender-based violence and the lack of reporting of these cases, because sometimes you will just be in your area and someone will just come and give you a gist about a girl that was molested in a very casual way. And when you try to talk about it, people will be like, Arupa Juna Asiri, Karka Pallasa, don't expose it, you're going to spoil the life of the girl and this and that.
In 2015, the Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan signed the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. The passage of the VAPP Act was monumental for Nigeria because it was the first time a Nigerian law comprehensively addressed various forms of sexual and gender-based violence beyond stating the offense and the punishment for it.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act finally was that piece of legislation that recognized that women are as much human beings as men are human beings. Pre-VAPP Act, we had, I think, the penal code that gave made provision for reasonable chastisement of wives by husbands.
The patriarchy, the culture of patriarchy was a major challenge, and most people did not understand. Even women themselves, they thought having this law is, Nigerians are very religious and cultural people. They think having a law to protect the women folk is equivalent to taking over.
The first time it was put forward, we were like, oh, is it only women? Women had to go back and then make changes to it to include all genders for it to be passed. But of course, it's directed primarily at women. And this is the first time we're looking at rape, the scope of rape being expanded to not just being vaginal penetration, anal, oral, all of that into it, specific punishments for perpetrators and compensation for victims and survivors of sexual and gender-based violence, not to forget female genital mutilation that we've been dealing with in Nigeria. These are things that if you live in the cities, you think do not exist, but they are actually so common in Nigeria.
Yet, even with all its potential for a safer and more equal society, several Nigerian states have failed to adopt and implement the VAPP Act. This has resulted in many cases of violence against women and girls, especially those working in the informal economy and in care roles.
When you want to work and your partner doesn't want you to work, they're forcing you to be financially dependent on them. And it speaks to unpaid care also when you're in a relationship or all you do is cook, clean.
Primarily, once you get into that space of having children or being the female in the house, you're expected to drop everything, every aspiration, and render care work, and don't expect anything in return for the care you provide.
For many of these women, there is little to no social protection or legal recourse when they are faced with violence.
I thought I needed money to take the case to NAPTIP due to the previous experience I had with police. When I went to police station to make statement, they asked me to pay 1,000 naira fee before I can write down my statement, and I didn't have money to do that. And they also asked me money for fuel that they will use and go and pick him up. They used to go and arrest him. So I didn't have the money, so I just turned back. I thought NAPTIP 2 is also the same thing, so I didn't make attempt.
In 2011, Ekiti became the first Nigerian state to pass a law against gender-based violence, which it called the Gender-Based Violence Prohibition Law.
Before now, the victims were being blamed for being raped. And the average rape victim wouldn't want to report to say, I was raped. On the other hand, it is the rapist, the perpetrator, who will boast to his friends to say, I've had that girl, I did this to her and that.
Some people, even after reporting sometimes, they go back to their family, and after the family has begged them, have a family meeting, they come back to us that they are not even interested in the case any longer. So people not coming forward to have the boldness to also declare the victimization they get as a survivor is one of the challenges we have.
The Gender-Based Violence Prohibition Law has been pivotal to ending impunity for violence and holding perpetrators to account. Up north in Kano State, the situation is bleak. In 2021, the International Federation of Women Lawyers reported that the state of Kano had recorded over 4,000 cases of sexual violence within 5 years.
In Nigeria, the prevalence of sexual gender-based violence is actually in 3 women, you'd find 1 or 2. So it's that bad. In Kano State, a lot of issues have caused for it not to be as reported or documented as it should be. But with news and stories about how young ladies are being sexually harassed and molested,
I have a scenario where a man called a group of girls that I see a mango tree, come, let's go, let me give you a mango. I make love with the girl on top of the mango tree. Can you imagine? He's not even afraid if she fell down, another 11 years and 40 years old man.
To my belief is that these violences maybe occurred in much more areas of the remote areas within Kano State, only that because those people do not tend to report it either to the authorities or to the ulama or to the maybe other organizations. But certainly if it could happen within the metropolitan, then it means that it's much more bigger in the other areas of the remote places.
I have a girl of 12 years to 13 years. She's put into bed in the next 2 months. So we don't know how it's going to be by CS, we don't know. You understand? Because I can't imagine a girl of 13 years. She's 7 months pregnant with Almajiri boy.
The majority of victims reported were under 13 years old. Kano is yet to domesticate the VAPP Act. The UN has recently described sexual and gender-based violence as a shadow pandemic due to its increasing rates across the world. Passing the VAPP Act at the national level was a giant stride towards ensuring the safety and security of women and children.
The emergence of the law has created this confidence amongst women. They now understand that there will be someone there to listen to them when they report, and they will not be blamed, and it is not their fault that they were picked on to be assaulted, or attacked.
Seeing other people's cases going forward is really a hope to my side, you understand? Not because I feel like my case is going to end anytime soon, but then seeing that, okay, other people's cases are not withheld like my own. It's actually something to hold tangible.
It's quite sad that even after it has been passed, the domestication in states has taken so long, and that anyone would even dare to say, let's look at it, or I have doubts. It's really offensive.
What needs to be done to help have this implemented is to, first of all, liaise with the stakeholders, including religious leaders, so as to dialogue, so as to help create awareness on the importance of this important law, and then that will give room for implementation, I suppose.
As a religious leader, I am in the support that the government should adopt it. It will help the families. It will help the populace of Kano State.
Enlightenment, it is very, very important. When there's proper and good enlightenment, definitely it will help a lot in coming in, in addressing this kind of problems.
Many a times we have people settle out of court. You have this thing where people would say, let's just have a sulhu, they call it, a kind of agreement within families, a settlement where nobody hears about it, because the prevalent statement is we want to prevent this young lady from being exposed to some kind of negative stereotype of society. But the downfall to that is we have these perpetrators moving ahead to actually do it again because they were not reported, hence nobody knows that they have done such thing before.
I think that more cases would be prosecuted and many people will get judgments if it is implemented and if it's implemented right.
Because something that is kept quiet will continue until someone is imprisoned, until someone is punished for something that they do that causes harm to another person.
The general public, I will urge everybody to report issues of sexual and gender-based violence.
The gain for me, I think, is not just now. It's for children and generations to come.
The VAPP Act is necessary for transforming the lives of Nigerian women and children by enhancing their autonomy and empowering their futures.